What's going on, you guys? We're going to waste no time jumping right into this comparison video of a Total Gym Fit to a Great Flex. If you guys missed my original Great Flex video, or my review video, I'll link that down below, as well as the opportunity to still save 10% off of a Great Flex unit. The details about that will be in the description box below as well. I will put timestamps down below so you guys can jump to certain sections, although there's a lot of ground I'll be covering at certain spots, so I definitely recommend, if you guys are interested in getting all the details as possible, to watch the whole video. It should be kind of obvious what I'm doing right here. I'm basically just kind of measuring the glide board to see if there's any difference in the glide board between these two models. And honestly, I don't think it's really necessary to give you the exact measurements. The point is the glide board height and width is essentially basically the same, with a slight little taper on the Total Gym. It looks like it, but honestly, I didn't see much of a difference at all. One big difference I think goes in favor of the Total Gym is that the Total Gym seems to have, like, I'm pretty sure it's like a leather top, versus the Great Flex, at least this particular color, it has a more of a canvas cloth type material. It's a good durable material, but I would say, I don't really like that as much if you're going to be sweating on the machine a lot, just as far as like, cleaning the machine, like, building in bacteria and stuff like that. Probably not a really big deal, but that's just something that I think is a pro and towards of the Total Gym. Now, right now, you're going to see me just kind of unracking or just kind of like setting up the Total Gym versus the Great Flex. Standing up, they basically look exactly the same. I would say the Total Gym wins in this department. It's just a little bit easier to kind of unrack. There's really kind of two parts. You kind of just extend the unit out, then just bring the tower up. Versus the Great Flex, if you guys caught the review, I kind of mentioned this. The Great Flex, you got to kind of open up in like a W fashion, where you kind of partially open it up and then kind of extend it out the other direction. So a little slight difference there. Otherwise, not really a game-breaking type of thing here. Now what I'm going to do is basically kind of show you guys both units side by side with them fully extended out, so you guys can look at that. And now what I'm doing is just measuring kind of the height. I mentioned in the review that the Great Flex seemed like a steeper incline, so I'm measuring like the very top corner of the rail there to see if there was any difference. And the Great Flex it was definitely taller, but I guess like maybe an inch, half an inch, not by much, but it definitely was a little bit taller. When we get closer and look off to the side, there'll be a shot here in a second. It's not that noticeable, but it seems like the tower is taller. There's more levels. There's 15 levels versus 12 in the Total Gym, but as far as the actual incline steepness, it was kind of hard to tell with a slight win, I would say, in favor of the Great Flex. I'm just showing you guys the different little increments, fairly similar in like distance and all the different increment settings, but that's just something to kind of consider. You're going to see here on the side that the Great Flex has 3 holes there on the side, where if you want to set your pull-up bar at different settings, maybe set up another pin for any of the attachments at different heights, you could do that, versus the Total Gym has one setting there. Not a big deal, but then here's you attach that little middle cable with a carabiner clip, and the Great Flex versus the Total Gym has just a little hook. Now that can be a good thing or bad thing, however you want to look at it. That hook can kind of fly off sometimes, versus the carabiner clip will stay on. I'm just showing you, granted the Total Gym had some wear and tear, but I'm just showing you guys kind of the paint on the rails with the Great Flex. Great Flex hasn't been used too much, but that's something I kind of broke in early, even on the Total Gym. It got some scratches on it. Now I'm just kind of showing you guys up close and just like the integrity of the actual, just the cable system right there. Cable seems good. The little rollers, whatever, are good. Now that's pretty huge right there. Pay attention to that little rubber on top of there, that little stopper. That's a big deal in not bottoming out or topping out the machine, as I'll show you later on. The Total Gym doesn't have that. Comparing the handles, I mentioned this in the review, the Great Flex handles seem a little bit cheaper compared to the Total Gym handles. I think the Total Gym handles definitely will last longer, although again, the Great Flex handles supposedly are still backed by their lifetime warranty. All the parts were, at least. And feeling the actual roller, I can't think of what those are called right now. That seemed a little bit denser, a little bit stronger as far as that metal, versus the metal on those rollers on the pulleys on the Great Flex seemed like a little bit lighter. Not a big deal. There's the pin, kind of wobbles around a little bit, but the safety pin is there. I like the way they kind of have those little attachment mechanisms. That's where you'd attach the phone stand, if you want to put your phone there. That's something to pay attention to. Great Flex has that top area where you can kind of grab hold of something. I'll show you guys that in the workout in a second. Now, comparing the squat stands, this is kind of different too. You can see that with the Great Flex, it extends up a little bit higher. So you get a little bit more distance, I think, if you want to like I think it's a little more functionally, it's better in the Great Flex than the Total Gym, where it's a little bit lower. I think for most people, it's more beneficial to be able to have the squat stand be up a little bit higher. So I don't know if the stand itself, it's more square, has a little more ridges versus Total Gym. They definitely seem similar in their design, but the Great Flex basically has a longer squat stand. Now, if you kind of look at the bottom here, you're going to notice that the Great Flex has has a mechanism at the bottom to actually lock the squat stand in. There are 2 holes there. There's a little mini hole there that the Total Gym had. This is not there on the Great Flex. Huge thing is that the Total Gym has an option to put a bar attachment. This does not have a bar attachment. However, the Great Flex does have these resistance bands on the, and I'll talk about that probably later in the video, but does have the resistance band attachments. Now, speaking of attachments, we're going to kind of look at 2 of the primary attachments you most likely might be using between both models. Again, as a reminder, the Great Flex came with a very impressive array of attachments, so that's definitely a plus in their category. Looking at the pull-up bar handles, you can see the silver one is the Total Gym and the green one is the Great Flex. I kind of like the Great Flex, the grips. That's me personally. It doesn't have more of like a foamier feel to it. It has more like a kind of solid, whatever that rubber coating is. I like the way that kind of feels in my hand versus the Total Gym. Very comparable, I'd say, overall in just the quality between both handles there. You can see with the Great Flex that handle kind of the grip actually loops all the way down, so you kind of hold it nice and tight and like a neutral grip like there. And then comparing both models here, just in their like reverse crunch attachments, there's just kind of a subtle difference between that. Both have good quality though, I'd say, just overall in the attachments. What I'm going to do next here is I'm going to shut up for a little bit and let you guys listen to the sound difference. I'll talk about how it feels in a second, but I want you guys just to listen to the comparison between both machines. Now that was actually the first time back to back that I personally just tried each one with direct comparison at the highest setting there. And I guess the biggest difference, and I think you can kind of hear it in some way, with the Total Gym, both are super smooth. I'll just say that. Both are super smooth. But the Total Gym has like a tiny bit more like friction. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It kind of might help with maybe the resistance, but has a little bit more, I would say, like just more of a friction or resistance to the initial glide, versus the Great Flex has like this kind of a slippery effect to it, if that makes any sense. The glide just seems a little bit easier to kind of go up and down. Pay attention to this. I don't know if you can really see it, but throughout the video, if you see kind of the handles hanging, a big characteristic that's unique with the Great Flex is that the handles hang a little bit lower, or there's more slack in the handles. I'll mention that later. But something else as you're paying attention to, it's a bonus. The Great Flex has that unique shape that gives you a little more versatility in a variety of pull-ups that you want to do. If you just want to do pull-ups using the top of the machine, versus the Total Gym doesn't really have that. It's kind of that half circle type deal. Now in a second, you're going to see me kind of show you guys some leg stuff here. And this is what I mean. I'm going to bottom out. I'm going to try to bottom out the Total Gym. And this happens to me kind of often. I have to be mindful of it, that I can bottom out the machine through leg stuff or even some upper body stuff. And that's kind of what I mean. I don't know if you want to call it bottoming out or topping out. Now, I think this is because in the Great Flex it had that rubber stopper at the top. That might be it, but you can see I'm trying to bottom it out and it just doesn't happen. And that's, again, a pro in the Great Flex category is it doesn't come off the tracks. Now, at the bottom setting, you can see here, they both will come off the tracks at the top, but at the bottom of the sled here, you can see the Total Gym, I can take it off the track. With the Great Flex, it's pretty tight. That thing does not come off the tracks. And I will say, since using the Great Flex, granted for an long period of time, it doesn't come off the track like the Total Gym. Sometimes that can kind of happen. You can see some integrity there just on that foaming there in a second. Now, this is a big plus again for the Great Flex. In my opinion, it does seem, like I said, that there's some extra cable to play with. Like if you look at the cables kind of hanging there with the handles, when the thing's not doing anything, you can see there's some extra slack. The point is there's some more slack, so you get some more play with the machine versus the Total Gym, it looks kind of similar, but I can kind of feel it as I'm doing this shoulder press that it almost feels like I'm going to be kind of bottoming out a little bit. As far as the rear flies, I mentioned this comparing to the Weider Alts and Bodyworks. That used to I was kind of limited in that. Both you can do rear delt flies really good. Overall though, as I did this whole workout, strikingly similar, just I would say in the way they feel and the way they operate and the way they function. So I want to be kind of clear about that. And it's kind of funny when you really look at all these different sliding benches. I don't know if it's by design or whatever, but there really is no ultimate sliding bench that has everything, all the stuff that another bench doesn't. It seems like they all have pros and cons. Granted, I will say the Great Flex is a strong underdog in the sense that it's much cheaper in price. It comes with tons of attachments. Definitely, if comparing to the Total Gym Fit, which I would say is its direct comparison, it really is like a carbon copy as far as how they both are operating with each other, especially when you consider the same glide board distance, seems like the same kind of length of play just in how the sled moves. But some of the benefits, that the Great Flex has, bigger squat stand, like I said, all the attachments. It has those more levels, I would say, more levels of resistance and seems to be a slightly bit taller than a Total Gym Fit. Has the resistance bands, has extra slack in the cables doing things like this, has that unique look to the pull-up bar or the actual attachments. You can do some extra pull-ups if you guys wanted to. That's a big benefit. Now, when you compare it to the Total Gym, you're going to say, okay, well, I'm paying a lot more money for a Total Gym. What am I really getting with that extra money? One, you get that bar attachment. You can see me using it there. Granted, you can still attach bars to a Great Flex if you want to get kind of creative. We get that bar attachment. As far as shoulder presses, I didn't address this really quick. Shoulder presses feel like almost exactly the same. They don't feel any different. Total Gym, a big thing would definitely be, I think, the trust and the integrity of the company and the product. Great Flex, not knocking them at all whatsoever, but we just know that they're a younger company. Total Gym has been in this industry, been in this market, and has been doing this really well for all these years. So that's something else that's a huge factor. I guess it comes down to looking at all these things I've presented to you guys and your own kind of functionality of how you're going to use the machine. And taking those things into consideration, it does kind of come up to you as the consumer as saying, where you want to put your money. I would say, again, the strongest thing that I would think in my mind that's going for the Total Gym Fit compared to the Great Flex definitely is that addition of the weight bar attachment. Again, that's if you're going to use it. There are sometimes I don't necessarily even use the weight bar attachment, but I've said in other videos, there are times where I definitely use it. So that's a big factor. The price in general is something that's a big factor, but the biggest thing going for the Total Gym that I would say that makes me want to use this, if I'm summing things up, I do like the way, even though they're very similar in smoothness, I kind of liked a little bit of friction in the Total Gym, and I really like that it has this leather glide board. And that thought never crossed my mind before. And maybe Great Flex can chime in if they ever see this video about their other models about having a leather top. But the idea of kind of like sweating on the fabric and just cleaning that off, I think over time it kind of bothers me a little bit. But again, I just presented all the other bonuses that the Great Flex does have. So hopefully this is a fair interpretation. This was really all the things I thought that were worthwhile to actually talk about when you compare these two models. If there's anything else you think I left out, anything else you guys want to add personally, questions, comments, feedback, definitely drop them down below. If you're watching this at a later date and I somehow change my mind, something breaks or whatever, I definitely will keep you guys updated in the description box, or just feel free to shoot me a comment down below and I'll address it. And if you guys still want to save 10%, I think it's for limited time though, just check the details in the description box if that's still valid. And you guys can save 10% off of a Great Flex. It helps support me in the channel. But, I'll also keep you posted. If I feel like something's not working with this thing, I'll definitely be honest. I don't want to promote something that I think isn't working out. So always be honest with that. Any questions, comments, feedback, again, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.